Hello everyone and welcome to the 30th episode of the GTA discussion series and the important announcement of the return of the Broughy Verified race playlists. So if you don't know what this is, I'm going to explain it all in this video, but if you want your race to be considered for this, listen very carefully because I'm going to explain everything throughout the course of this video. So I often get asked to test circuits on GTA. I get messages pretty much every day of people asking me to test their tracks, drive their tracks, give them opinions. It's just not something that's feasible for me to do. You know, if I did that, then I would end up that's all I would end up doing. It's just, you know, there's so many. So back in the old gen days of GTA, during the content creator series that I had there, I had a special mini series called Broughy Verified. Now, what I did with this is took track submissions from everybody who watched my videos and just anybody else and chose the best. So I would choose what I thought were the best proper racing circuits. I wasn't looking for stunt races or anything like that. It was just for proper racing circuits across PS3 and Xbox 360, and then I would put them into playlists, and then they became quite popular. I think the most popular race to come from that was probably Apex Predator. That's got quite a lot of plays now, but a lot of races came from that. They were very popular. Those playlists themselves were played a lot, and they were sort of go-to playlists for decent racing circuits because, you know, it was brought out of the idea that the Rockstar verified stuff isn't all that great if you're looking for proper racing circuits. Now, I'm going to bring that back. Now, this is going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of effort. I've got a team of people helping me with it, but ultimately, in the end, I'm going to be testing the tracks and I'm going to be making the final decision about what tracks go into these playlists. And again, what I'm looking for is proper racing circuits. So similar to the circuits that I've created, similar to the circuits that you see in racing events, such as Shaggy's F1 Championship or something like that. That's all I'm looking for. You know, I'm not looking for point-to-point races, off-road races, stunt races, crossover races. I'm not looking for any of that. It just won't be considered at all. What I'm going for with these playlists and in the new direction that I'm taking this is that we have a set amount of playlists, a set amount of races that are sort of go-to races. Some of the best racing circuits in GTA entirely. If you want to host a racing event, you would look at those playlists and look at those races and choose some of those. If you just want to do some proper racing on a night of GTA, those playlists, I'm trying to get those playlists to the point of being sort of the go-to races that you would do. Now, this is going to be for new gen only. The reason for that is that, you know, it took a lot longer than I expected when I initially did the Broughy Verified series, and this was only back on 360 and PS3. That was only 2 platforms to look at. Having to look at 5 separate platforms would be absolutely crazy, and I think we've got to just sort of move on and focus on PS4, Xbox One and PC at this point. You know, the old gen stuff already have the Broughy Verified series, already have those Broughy Verified playlists. I will link those videos down in the description. So, you know, it's time to move on a little bit and start focusing on the new generation of consoles and PC as well. So how this is going to work is a little bit different to how it used to work because I'm trying to push the boat out a little bit and take it even further. So the way that I'm going to do that is hopefully all of the tracks that I end up making for these playlists, that end up making these playlists, will be available on all consoles and all platforms. Well, you know, PC, Xbox One and PS4. A lot of work is going to be involved in that, and that's why I've got a team of people helping me. But by submitting your track to this whole thing, you basically agree that your track will be recreated on different consoles, different platforms if it makes it. If you're not happy with that, if you're not comfortable with somebody else recreating your track and obviously giving relevant credit, of course, then don't submit a track because that's the way that we're going to go. So hopefully by the end of this, and I'm not saying that it's going to be anytime soon, it might even be a couple of months before we see these playlists in action, but hopefully by the end of it we'll have a number of playlists on Xbox One, PS4 and PC that are all exactly the same in terms of the races that are involved in them, and they constitute the best races across all three platforms. So I'm going to be taking submissions from PC, PS4 and Xbox One, bringing them all together and just basically trying to find the best racing circuits across GTA regardless of the platform that you're on. So what I'm going to do is leave a link in the description. Now that link will allow you to submit your race. However, there are a few little things that you need to know before you do. So your race will automatically be taken out of consideration for the Broughy Verified playlist if it doesn't follow the following rules. There's only a few, but it must be a regular circuit race. So as I mentioned, no point-to-point races, off-road races, air races, sea races, stunt races or crossover races. Don't want to see any of that. If it's anything like that, it just won't be considered. It will just be taken out of consideration straight away. We're only looking for proper racing circuits at this point. Now it must have a 30-player grid as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be capable of holding 30 players. Like the track itself doesn't necessarily have to be capable of holding 30 players straight away. You know, most tracks are going to have quite a lot of chaos on a 30-player grid. If it's just a random race, for example, in one of my streams, for example, it will be chaos regardless of what you do. But the reason that I'm stressing that it has to have a 30-player grid is because these are meant to be races that can be used in events. So for example, the multi-class endurance championship, it needs to have 30 players if it's going to be used in that. It needs to have that ability to hold 30 players, even if, you know, the organizer of the event has to work out the starting grid a little bit differently or stagger the start, but it must at least have that ability to hold 30 players and give people the option to race around there with 30 players if that's something that they want to do. The next thing is that it must be open to all classes of car. So if you've got a race that's just locked to sports and supers, it won't be considered either. It's got to have all classes of vehicles available to it. The only exception to that is vans. I know that, you know, you have to have a large grid to be able to allow vans to race on your circuit. So that is an exception. There is a little trick that you can do, but, you know, look that up if you want to enable vans on sort of a small or a medium grid. But vans are a bonus. Obviously, if vans are enabled, they are a bonus, but they aren't a necessity. All of the other classes are a necessity. You've got to have all of the classes available, and it must have traffic turned off by default as well. If traffic is turned on by default, not going to consider it. It has to be traffic off. So those are the only 4 things that you need to have on your circuit. You know, proper racing circuit, 30-player grid, must be open to all classes of car, and traffic must be off by default. Make sure that's all good, and then submit your track on the link down below. Now you can only submit 1 circuit, so choose your best. Have a think about it. Make sure you submit your best circuit. If there are 2 circuits submitted from the same person, then neither of them will be considered, and that's important because I expect there's going to be a lot of submissions to this across 3 different platforms. It's going to be crazy, you know, it's going to be a lot of work going through all of these. So it took me long enough to do the first series on old gen when it was just 2 platforms and a lot less people who knew about the stuff that I was doing. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of submissions, and this is just to try and limit that number. You can only submit 1 circuit. If you submit 2, then neither will be considered automatically. So choose your best circuit, choose the one that you think has the best chance of being verified. So once you've done that, there's a link in the description. Once you've chose your circuit, once you've made sure it fits all of the criteria, there's a link in the description to a Google form. Fill out that. All you have to do is fill out the questions that it asks you, click submit, and then you are done. Now you won't be contacted at any point, so once you've submitted it, it's basically just a waiting game. Keep checking back on the channel to see, you know, I'll obviously make a video for each of these Broughy Verified playlists once they are ready. Keep checking back to see if yours made it, but as I said, also Hopefully these will be the same and available across all 3 platforms, Xbox One, PS4 and PC. But by submitting your track to this, you do sort of automatically agree that you are okay with somebody else recreating your track on those other platforms that it isn't already available on. So this is ambitious. It is, you know, it's pushing it to the next extreme, if you like, you know, with this Broughy Verified series. But I am sort of committed with this to making playlists and making those tracks known to people that are just hands down the best racing circuits, the best racing experience that you can have on GTA. If you want some proper racing, if you want to host a proper racing event, these should be your go-to circuits, and that's what I'm aiming for with this. So it is ambitious, but I do have people to help me, and hopefully this will work out. I can't exactly say when we're going to see the first playlist and the first video about the playlist, you know, just don't ask me from this point on, but also don't ask me to test your circuits as well. Just submit them here, 1 circuit, remember, and then it will be tested and it will be considered as long as it fits the criteria. So you've got 2 weeks to submit your circuit. The Sunday the 20th of September, that will be the final day that you can submit a circuit. After that, the form won't be available to submit any circuit at any point, and nothing will be considered after that date. So 2 weeks from today, you've got 2 weeks to submit your circuit. Hopefully we'll get some really good circuits out of this. I know that in the past Rockstar has looked at the Broughy Verified playlists from old gen, and they've actually verified themselves some of those races. I know one from Zenzi and Twilight, and in fact 3 races from the Broughy Verified playlist were actually verified by Rockstar themselves. So, you know, it could be a route to that as well. We'll see what happens. They do pay attention to that, but I'm just focused on making playlists that include the best racing circuits across all platforms. So it doesn't matter whether you're on Xbox One, PS4 or PC, you can submit your track to this and it will be considered. All the information is in the description. Check that out. You've got 2 weeks to do it. 20th of September is the final day that you can submit. And remember, only one submission per person. All the information's in the description. All the information is on that link as well for the Google form. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Leave all your comments down below about what you think about this. Good luck with the submissions, and yeah, I hope to be playing your track soon. So thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.